Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Get Money Show. It is running up Wednesday, and I am so thrilled to be here with you. How are you guys? Today we are going to talk about something that is so vital, so important for you, no matter what your age is. Excuse me, I'm just getting over COVID. So you might hear me coughing and clear my throat a little bit, but I'm good now. I'm clear. I've been quarantined. I'm straight, but I got a little bit of remnants left over. But I'm really, really excited to talk to you guys about this today because this is going to, if this is going to impact you, and you're going to want to stay till the end for this. Okay. We're going to talk about what Donald Trump's tax plan is. Jesus. Regardless of what your political views are. Okay. I don't really care what your political views are. It doesn't really matter. The bottom line is that regardless if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, Green Party, if you didn't even vote, if you don't really give a damn, none of that, you're still going to you got to pay taxes, right? Period. It doesn't matter what you believe or what you feel is right. If you voted for Kamala, if you voted for Donald Trump, doesn't matter, right? The bottom line is that we all are going to be dealing with taxes. And you want to mitigate your taxes as much as possible. So we're going to talk about that today. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor and drop a comment and say newbie in the comments. If you are an OG and you've been here for a while, let me know that as well. Say OG in the comments. Hey, Angela, tapping in from Tallahassee. Let's keep our money. Yes, let's keep our money. Let's keep our money. I'm going to do the math for you. Y'all know I love money math. I wasn't a math whiz in school. I did get a, A or B in math, but I wasn't a math whiz. I definitely had to go to Kumon to get some tutoring and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to money math, I'm an ace at that. Okay. So I'm going to show you all exactly how much you will be saving if you do the things that I'm telling you to do. Hey, Dr. Nicole, OG from Charlotte. Nancy is in the building. Charlene is here. Okella is here. Candace is a newbie. What's up, Candace? Welcome, newbie. We're so excited to see you. And Natty Kisses over on Instagram is a newbie as well. What's up, girl? What's up? Hello, hello, hello. Yolanda is here as well. If you are tapping in from anywhere, let me know where you are dialing in from. And of course, let me know if you are a newbie or if you're an OG. And if you are watching on replay, let me know that you're watching on replay as well, okay? Now, today I'm gonna read to you because I can't remember all the doggone stuff Donald Trump got in the plan. So I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna read it because I want you to be informed about it. And then we're gonna talk about the play, how you're gonna mitigate this. And this is even more vital if you're over 40. If you're over 40, excuse me. If you're over 40, let me know in the comments. Just type in 40 plus. Let me know, right? Because as I was talking last night to my Rich Friends crew, which if you are not familiar with my Rich Friends is a community of people who are focused on getting to that first $100,000 in the bank and then getting to that 7 figures in the bank, right? We are diving deeper into topics that we cannot possibly talk about here on the channel here on the Get Money Show or on YouTube. We're diving real deep into those sorts of things. And so they're getting higher level sorts of master classes and topics and guest speakers that are coming in. We just had a guest speaker a couple weeks ago came in and talked about insurance and how we can use insurance to build wealth, how we can utilize some of the tax strategies and benefits that the 1% utilize, even if we are not a part of the 1%. That is a part of my Rich Friends. That is not something that we can do here on this channel. So if you want to be a part of my Rich Friends, you can simply check it out. I'll drop the link in the comments. And otherwise, we'll get to it, okay? Do me a favor, if you are new to this channel and you have not yet liked the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a comment as well so I can shout you out. Okay, this is an interactive session. This is not me lecturing you. We're going to do some math here and we're going to figure out how much money we're going to be saving. Okay. Hey, newbies over on Instagram. By the way, if you're new to this, you may not know that I do this, but I also go live on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. You will see my head turning back and forth because I'm addressing both channels. Okay. YouTube is right here. Instagram is right here. So Instagrammers, if you would like to get the full kit and caboodle of all that I'm able to do, you're going to want to come over to YouTube. I can share my screen. I can show other things. I can drop links. I can't do that if you're on Instagram. Instagram doesn't allow me to do that, okay? So you're going to just go over to YouTube and search for The Get Money Show. Type in The Get Money Show, and you will find it. You will find it over on YouTube, okay? So you get way more... just way more over here on YouTube. It's better over here. It's where most people are anyway. Okay. But if you want to stay on Instagram, by all means, you're welcome to sit with us as well. Okay. Let me shout out the newbies as well. I see who else is on here. I see Trask. Trask NP is a newbie from Texas. Hello, hello. I see Natty is from Connecticut. We got Natty Plus, Trask, Miss Dana Joy, Love Naja, all 40 plus, okay? All 40 plus, right? So the 40 plus crew, right? This is super vital for us because we have less time, right? If you're over 40, you may be like, damn, like retirement is like around the corner. And I may not feel like I'm completely set up like I feel like I need to be if I'm 40 plus. If that's you and that was me, raise your hand. Just give me a hand emoji in the comments, okay? Because I found myself starting all over at age 40, trying to, from a business that I had lost, right? I started a second business. That business did not succeed for various reasons. And it left me with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Okay. And when that happened, let me know on Instagram if you guys can still hear me because I just got a call and it may have kicked me off. Let me actually turn on Do Not Disturb so I don't have these people calling me. Because I swear, nobody ever calls me when I'm just not doing anything. But when I get on live, all of a sudden, everybody wants to call. Okay. All right. So when I've shared the story before, I was turning 40 and I started a new business, started that business, and that business did not succeed. When that business failed, it left me with literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I just felt like, how did this happen to me? Right? I was not a frivolous spender. I was not someone who was out here taking, all kinds of crazy trips and spending a bunch of money on luxury clothing and all sorts of things like that. I was a pretty good steward of my money. I tried to start a second business. It did not succeed and left me hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So even though I had done a pretty good job of saving money, I didn't save as much as I could have, right? I had done a decent job of saving money. I had done a pretty decent job of saving for retirement. But when I lost that business and I found myself in all this debt, I ended up finding myself literally taking $9,000 to $12,000 out of my son's account, who's 13, that I had saved up for him. So just so I could make payroll for my original business, right? And then I found myself having to borrow from my 401k and all this other stuff, right? So the foundation I had created was decent, but it wasn't good enough, right? And so here I was at 40, literally starting all over. Now, when I started my first business at 30, I had what I felt like time. At 40, you're like, oh snap, like life is coming at me real fast. And I don't think I'm going to have enough ready for the next 20 years, next 25 years, right? By the time you hit 40, you realize that time flies, right? When you're under 40, you're like, oh, I got time. But when you're 40, you're like, time is flying and I need to get this shit together, right? And so all of you guys who have your hands raised, I'm so glad that you are honest with yourself, because the first step to fixing the problem is realizing that you have a problem, okay? So let's talk about Donald Trump's tax plan, what it is, how it may negatively impact you. Again, this is not a political episode. This is literally just the facts. Okay. This is just the facts of what he has proposed. Okay. And then we'll get into what you need to do to mitigate your taxes so that you can save more money. Okay. And then also how you're going to get to that $1 million if you're 40 plus. Okay. You still need some time, but we're going to talk about it. All right. So do me a favor, share this live with a friend. What's up, Tommy? Share this live with a friend. Don't be a gatekeeper. Let them know that you want them to succeed as well, because there's no shortage of money in the world. We just got to get to it. Like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you like this video. It lets YouTube know that this is content that is valuable to you. You will continue to get other sorts of content like this, and it lets other people know that they should watch as well. We are on the road to hitting 2,300 or 2,200 followers here on the show. So please make sure that you share this and like and subscribe. Okay. Over on YouTube, Natty said, I didn't see this show. I saw another one. Okay, well, I'm not sure why that is, because when you type it in, it should show up. You can also type in my name, which is Gwen Jammere, Jimmere, and you should see it as well. Okay, you can try that also. Okay, I'm going to read to you Donald Trump's tax plan, because again, I'm not going to memorize all of it. Okay, so here's what it says. Here's the first thing. I had to write all this out. Analyzing President Donald Trump's tax policies reveals several potential negative impacts on middle-class Americans. I'm assuming the vast majority of us here would consider ourselves middle class. Okay. I'm assuming that's most of us, okay? This is going to impact lower and middle class Americans. Again, the 1%, they're going to benefit the most. Those who are not in the 1%, like the rest of us, we are going to have some challenges, okay? Here's the first thing. Disproportionate tax benefits. The 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act primarily benefited higher income individuals and corporations. While middle class households received modest tax cuts initially, these were temporary and are set to expire after 2025. Okay. In contrast, the corporate and higher class tax reductions were made permanent, leading to a more significant long-term benefit for wealthier individuals. So, if you are not in the 1%, your tax cut that you may have gotten back in 2017 is ending unless it gets extended. There's no guarantee. Who knows, right? But everybody else's, the 1%, theirs are made permanent. Okay. All right. Number 2, increased income inequality. The 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act contributed to a widening of the income gap. The top 1% of earners received substantial tax cuts, while the bottom 80% saw minimal benefits. This disparity has exacerbated economic inequality, leaving lower and middle income families with a smaller share of the nation's wealth. Okay. Number 3, there's 5 of these. Number 3, potential future tax increases. With the expiration of the individual tax cuts after 2025, middle-class taxpayers may face higher tax rates unless new legislation is enacted. Keep in mind, the 1% does not have to worry about this because their tax cuts were made permanent. Everyone else's is on the chopping block. Number 4, impact to Social Security and Medicare. This is going to affect a lot of people who are kind of older. Proposals to tax cuts on Social Security benefits could accelerate the depletion of the Social Security trust. By the time I'm eligible for Social Security, I don't even think it's going to even be available, honestly. This potentially leads to reduced benefits in the future. This scenario would disproportionately affect middle-class retirees who rely heavily on these programs. Okay. And number 5, limited wage growth. Despite promises that corporate tax cuts would lead to significant wage increases for workers, studies have shown that the anticipated wage growth did not materialize for most employees. This outcome suggests that the benefits of the tax cuts were not effectively passed down to the middle class. Okay, so bottom line is that if you are not in the 1%, your tax benefits that you might have gotten way back in 2017 are not guaranteed to continue. However, if you are in the top 1%, congratulations, your tax cuts were made permanent. If you are on Medicare, Medicaid, or you rely on Social Security at all, there's a very good chance that you may not have that or have significantly reduced benefits in the future after 2025. All right. You might also experience tax increases. It says here the expiration of the tax cuts in 2017, the middle class taxpayers may face higher tax rates unless new legislation is enacted, right? So we are all on a hope and a prayer that he's going to, or not just him, because I think a lot of people put a lot of stuff into what the president can do. Honestly, the president can't really do a whole lot unless the House and the House of Representatives and the Senate agree. But we have a fully Republican, House, and not fully, but mostly Republican House, mostly Republican Senate, and a Republican president. So the likelihood of whatever he wants to happening is greater than if they were opposing parties, right? So here's the thing. I've said this before, and I will say it again. You are your biggest, most important expense. Okay. We prioritize a lot of other things and we don't prioritize making sure that we are good now and in the future. And I said this last night in My Rich Friends when we had our meeting. I said, we have been conditioned and programmed to pay attention to and spend money on things that will never make us money, that will in fact lose us money. But we've been programmed to reject things and we've been programmed to reject spending money on things that will actually make us money. Right? So the example that I gave and I'll give to you is think about a car, right? Everybody, for the most part, unless you live in like a New York or a London or something like that, you probably need a car to get around, right? It will be, or at least it would be ideal for you to have a car or a vehicle, right? We are programmed to buy a car, but we all know there is no secret. Everybody knows this. As soon as you drive that car off the lot, what happens? Y'all let me know in the comments what happens as soon as that car is driven off the lot, and what happens every single day that you own that car. Y'all let me know in the comments. What does it do? What happens to that car when you drive it off the lot? Exactly. It depreciates, right? Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Nicole. Thank you, dear frustrated believer over on Instagram. It depreciates immediately. We know this. It's not a secret. They don't try to hide it, but we are always trying, not always, and I'm saying we collectively as a general statement, not necessarily you individually, right? We as a society, we put a lot of stock into the type of car somebody drives. Oh, they got a G-Wagon. They must really got it like that. Oh, they're driving a Camry. Oh, maybe they don't have it like that, right? Or they're driving a Bentley. They're driving a BMW, whatever, right? We put a lot of stock into this. Conversely, we are not conditioned to spend our money in the stock market, which we know is, which we know, I mean, you may not know it, but the facts and the studies and the history shows that the stock market will make you money. Even if it crashes or goes down at some point, it will over time make you money. It always has. It has always gone up since it started, since, early on. It's always gone up over time, right? But we have so many people who are afraid of the stock market because, oh my God, what if it crashes, right? But you know that this car gonna crash. You know that the car value is gonna crash. You know that. You know that, right? But yet and still, we will buy, and myself included, when I did this, we'll buy a $60,000 car. Some people will buy a $100,000 car, right? Knowing it's going to depreciate and be completely okay with that. But when we say, okay, you know what, you really need to focus on retirement. You really need to focus on making sure that you're set up in the next 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, 10 years. We don't prioritize that as much, right? So we have been conditioned as a society to spend money on things that will never make us money, but we have been taught to reject things that will make us money. This is not an accident. This is, in my opinion, by design, because again, how does the 1% that benefits from all of these tax breaks continue to stay the 1% and benefit from all these tax breaks if everybody is doing what they're doing? They can't, right? And so the goal is for us not to be outside of that. We want to benefit from all the tax benefits and all the breaks that we can, even if we are not earning what they're earning. And the thing is that you can. The fact of the matter is that you probably just don't know it. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you now about a number of tax breaks that you can get. And then we're going to do the math. This is where it's going to get really palatable and it's going to really hit home for you once we do the math on this. Okay. So the first thing that I want you guys to write down, right, or type into your phone or whatever, is that in order to outsmart Donald Trump in this tax plan that he has, if it doesn't benefit you, is for you to start to maximize tax deferred and tax advantage accounts. So many of you have a 401k, I'm assuming. Okay. How many of you are taking advantage, the full advantage of the match that your employer provides for your 401k or 403b? If you're taking advantage of the match, if your company offers a match, please type in match in the comments. Okay. Yes, Kofi, investing for retirement. I'm so glad that you're here. Yeah, we're going to talk about Roths in just a minute. Right now, we're talking about 401ks. Okay. So the maximum that you can contribute for 2025 for a 401k is $23,500. That's the maximum that you can contribute. That's quite a bit of money. Okay. $23,500. If you are taking advantage of your company match, depending on how much they may match up to half of that. They may match 20% of that or whatever, but it's literally free money and is also available to be written off on your taxes. And I understand that when we talk about writing things off on our taxes, a lot of us really don't understand what that means. It just sounds good, but we're going to do the math and I'm going to explain it to you. Okay. So Jackie is the only person that's taking advantage of the match. Okay, Karen is taking advantage of it. Michelle is as well, and Jackie. So only 3 of you guys are taking advantage of your company. I'm talking about the full max, not just a couple dollars. I'm talking about the full max. So whatever you got to contribute in order for them to contribute their maximum, are you taking advantage of that? And if you're not, you're literally leaving money on the table for your immediate income, and you're also leaving money on the table for your future tax deferment and your future retirement. But it's only 3 of you guys that at least commented. All right, Arelthea says she's taking advantage of the match. Sarita says she works for the local government and they take a pay percentage automatically. Okay, Tommy is not been. Tommy, do you still work for the post office? Chris says she did before retirement. Okay, great. Chris has been retired like almost a decade. So Chris is like, she did what she was supposed to do because she's been living the life of luxury since she's been retired. Tommy, you still work for the post office. Okay, so does the post office provide a match for you? My dad used to work for the post office, and I'm pretty sure that they did. So, but that was a long time ago. So I don't know what they're doing today. But you need to be taking advantage of the match. You are literally leaving money on the table. Like if I were to say, Tommy, I got $7,000 I just want to hand you every year. All you got to do is put some money into this account. Would you not take it? Would you not take that 7,000? Would y'all take that deal? If I said, hey, I'm gonna give you $7,000. Yes, but I'm in debt. I understand. But here's the thing, Tommy. First of all, you want to make sure that you work to get out of debt. That's your first priority, right? Because you can't it's harder for you to make the money you need to make and keep the money you need to keep if you owe other people, right? So your first goal is to prioritize debt payoff, right? But here's the other thing too. One day you're going to retire. I'm talking to Tommy specifically, but I'm talking to everybody else, right? One day you're going to retire. And Tommy, you my age. I think you might be a year or two older than me, right? So we ain't got forever, right? So here's the thing. You're going to retire. And when that retirement happens, there's going to be no loans available for you for retirement. There's no grants available for you for retirement, right? And all those companies that you owe, that you're in debt to, none of them are going to come back and say, hey, you know what, Tommy, you did a really good job by paying us on time every single month. It's okay that you didn't contribute to your own retirement or that you didn't prioritize yourself. We're gonna hook you up and make sure that you're good. Ain't none of them coming for you. Nobody's coming to save you, right? So you have to prioritize yourself. Like you need to think about yourself being in debt. Like you're in debt to yourself, because your future self, when you're 60 or when you're 65 or whenever you decide to retire, maybe you retire early or whatever, one day you're going to be like, damn, I really wish I would have prioritized this, because you don't want to have to work because you have to, right? If you want to be a greeter at Walmart, by all means do your thing, but do it because you want to, not because you have to. You feel me? So I really want you to like consider like how can I maximize my debt payoff? If debt is keeping you from, if you feel like being in debt is keeping you from maximizing or even contributing enough to your 401k to make sure that you and your wife and your kids are good when you retire, then you got to prioritize that, because nobody's coming to save you at that age. You know what I'm saying? So just think about that. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you something to think about, because I think a lot of times we feel like 20 years or 15 or 30 years is so far away. And, you know, once you hit 40, you realize that time is moving. Right. So I just want you to think about that. Okay. Because I don't want you to be in that position, or anybody to be in that position where they're not able to enjoy their retirement or actually retire because they did not save enough. Okay. But here's the thing for everybody. You can save up to $23,500 every year in your 401k or your 403b. Okay. If you work for a nonprofit or a school or something like that. If you're over 50, you can actually save an additional $7,500 as of 2025. Okay. So those are called catch-up contributions. These are tax deferred, which means that you don't pay taxes on this money until you pull it out for retirement. Okay. That's your 401k. Janelle says her minimum is 4%. Amechi says, how does the match work? My employers match up to 4%. So what percentage do I need to contribute? So you need to contribute a minimum of 4%, Amechi. So they're basically going to contribute at minimum. This is a great question. I'm going to highlight this. Okay, so for those of you who don't understand how the match works with your employer, whatever they match up to means that they're going to pay you 100% of that amount, right? So, like let's say you contribute 4% of your check to your 401k. Let's say you contribute 10% of your check, right? Your employer is going to match 100% up to 4%. So let's say for round numbers, it's $1,000, right? You're contributing $1,000 to your 401k for that month or quarter, whatever it is. Your employer is going to match 4% of that. Okay. And then everything over and above is not matched. So at minimum, you should be contributing whatever they are going to give you for free. At minimum. Because it's literally like you just leaving money on the table. Okay. Now, not all of us have an employer match, such as myself, because I am the employer and the employee of the same company, right? So there is not an employer match. Well, there is, could be. It's a different sort of situation. But I realize most of us here are W-2 employees, so I'm not even going to worry about talking to the folks who are self-employed, because that's a whole different conversation for a different day. Okay. Bottom line, you can contribute up to $23,500 in 2025 in your 401k. An additional $7,500 if you're over the age of 50. Okay. Again, these are tax deferred. You get to write this off on your taxes. Okay. In the current year, but you don't pay taxes on it until you take it out. Then there are Roth IRAs, which I'm always telling you guys to contribute to. There are Roth IRAs. Okay. Your Roth IRA is tax advantaged or tax efficient, meaning you don't pay taxes on it when you retire. So if you pull that money out at age 59 and a half or later, you don't pay taxes on it at all. Okay. As of 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000 in a Roth IRA. And if you're over the age of 50, you can contribute an additional $1,000. Again, this is a catch-up contribution. So if you're over 50, you can contribute a total of $8,000. If you're under 50, you can contribute up to $7,000. Okay. Shonda, what are you lost about? Let me know what you're lost about. I don't want you lost. Let me know. Shonda says she's lost. So, we have no rich friend left behind, girl. So let me know what your question is so I can answer it for you while you got me live. Okay. All right. I'm going to move into donor advised funds. So how many of you pay tithes? I know a lot of y'all probably pay tithes to your church. If you pay tithes, drop in church in the comments. You're lost on the Roth IRA. Okay, Shonda, I'll come back to that in just 1 minute. Yes, Valika, is $7,000 a year. Valika says, is the contribution for a Roth IRA, and I'm keeping in mind it's a Roth IRA, up to $7,000 a year? Yes, Valika, if you are under the age of 50. If you are 50 or over, you can contribute $8,000 total. Okay. And again, that is completely tax advantaged. You do not pay taxes on it once you retire, assuming you pull it out at age 59 and a half or later. But all of these benefit all these benefit you in the current tax year. And I'm going to tell you how when I do the math. Okay. Over on Instagram, life is hard for a lot of folks. How can people contribute more when a paycheck isn't stretching as far as it had before? That is a great question. So, okay, I'm going to read it again. She says, life is hard for a lot of people. How can people contribute more when a paycheck isn't stretching as far as it did before? And that's a fair question because a whole lot of people are probably in that boat, right? First thing is that, and I'm going to come back to the tax thing because I want to address your question. The first thing is that I'm always talking about cutting expenses because a lot of times we're overspending on things that we don't realize that we can cut, right? And I've given this example several times before, and I'll give it again. I was paying $700 and some odd dollars, like almost $800 a month for my health insurance for myself and my son, right? This is health insurance is something that I need. This is very expensive, like almost $800 a month for two people, both of who rarely ever go to the doctor, is outrageous, right? But I was paying it because I have to have it. We have to have health insurance. But I decided, let me take a look at all of my expenses, right? And this is where the Fix My Money Challenge comes in. If you are not or have not taken the Fix My Money Challenge, you definitely should. It's coming up again in January, and the wait list is open right now. I'll drop the link in the comments. It's free to get on the wait list. So I'll put the comments here, put it in the comments so you guys can get on the wait list. But this is something we talk about in the Fix My Money Challenge, is finding ways to cut costs. So it's almost $800 a month I was paying in health insurance. I started scouring the internet. I started looking around, doing my due diligence, and I found that I was able to get the exact same healthcare company, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield, the same doctors, right? For myself, my son, and for my therapist. I wanted to have all of that. I didn't want any change. And I was able to get all of that for $241 a month. So I went from paying $800 a month to paying $241 a month. How much of that is a savings? Let me see. 800 minus 241. That's $560 a month that I saved just by looking around, right? Looking at my expenses, saying, why is my life so expensive right now? Let me figure out how I can save some money here, because this is outrageous. Like, my life is it costs too much to go outside, right? So that's the first thing, is looking at your expenses and finding out where you can cut costs. I do not believe in telling folks to go not have your daily coffee, unplug your, outlet so you can save $40 a year. Like, that's ridiculous, right? That's not going to do much for your life. But if you can save $500 a month, right? $560 a month times 12, that's $67.20. That's almost $7,000 a year that I saved just by switching my health insurance and getting the exact same thing, but at a lower cost, right? So that's one example. The second thing is that we're probably gonna have to make more money, because you can only cut so many costs. You can only cut so much, right? Without like feeling like you're homeless. The second thing is to find ways to make more money. Now, I'm not suggesting you go get another job, right? I'm not suggesting you go get another job, because that would take up too much of your time, but can you create passive income streams for yourself? Is there something that you're really good at that you can sell? I think a lot of us, we don't think about things that we are just naturally good at. We take for granted that other people will actually pay for. Here's a great example of this. There's a woman, I cannot remember her name, but I made a video on this on my YouTube channel several months ago. She has a course and she charges $999 for this, right? Charges $999. What's up, Q? She charges $999 to teach people how to get their babies to sleep through the night, right? And people pay her $999, so $1,000 for this course that teaches them how to get their baby to sleep. Now, I have a 13-year-old, right? So this is not relevant for me. But when I didn't have a 13-year-old and I had a 3-month-old, I probably would have paid that $1,000 because I was getting zero sleep, right? So for the people who is highly valuable for, they're going to pay that cost because their pain is so great that they're willing to pay the cost of that, right? So here's the thing. And she makes like $30,000 a month doing this. And here's the thing. She recorded it one time and she sells it on the website. It's completely passive for her. It wasn't passive at first because she had to create the course, right? But she took her phone, recorded this course, just sat in front of a camera like I'm talking to you guys right now, and recorded a bunch of modules on how to get your baby to sleep through the night. And it was how to get your baby to sleep through the night within, I think, 2 weeks or so, within 14 days or something. So if I'm a mom and I have been sleep deprived for 6 months and you can get my baby to sleep in 14 days, I'll bet $100 I'm paying for that, or $1,000 I'm paying for that, right? So the other thing is that we have to start thinking of ways that we can make more money. Like, our jobs are not coming to save us, right? The economy is down. The cost of living is going up. Eggs cost $1 billion and milk is the same price, right? We got to find ways to make more money. We got to bring more money into the household. And so the first thing is to cut more expenses, right? So look through your bank statement or your credit card statement or wherever you spend your money. Okay. Look through that and look at where you're spending money. You may not realize how much money you're spending. Here's another thing. I just looked through my expenses recently because I taught the Fix My Money Challenge, but I also have to partake in it as well, right? And I've noticed, I felt like I was paying way too much in life insurance. Like, I was like, why am I spending all this money in life insurance? Like, this is costing too much. Let me see if I can find a cheaper life insurance policy, but still have the same coverage. Because what I believe in is keeping the same level quality of life, but reducing the expense. I'm not going to ever tell you like you should not enjoy life. You should not have the things that you need. What I am going to tell you is that you should look for ways to have the same quality of life, but reduce the expense. So I was like, this is costing way too much. I called up my insurance guy and I said, hey, here's how much I've been paying all this time. Can you get me a lower rate? And we did that, right? So where are you spending a lot of money? And even if you think you cannot spend less, there's a chance that you probably can. So just with cutting my health insurance by $560 a month and by cutting my life insurance by $200 a month and still getting the same quality, the same service, the same exact thing, right? I saved 560 plus 200 is 760. $760 just with those two cuts. Just with those two cuts, right? 760 a month times 12. Y'all got me out here pulling out my calculator. Is $9,120 a year. I could probably afford some higher priced eggs at that point, right? Because I've cut some larger expenses. So don't waste your time going through, like, if you spend $7 on something, like, don't try to figure out how you can spend $5. Like, that's a waste of time. Look at those bigger expenses. Okay. And then once you cut those expenses, then I want you to start thinking of things that you take for granted that you can teach people or that you can create a digital product for or whatever that will make you more money in your sleep. Dr. Nicole over on YouTube has a great comment. She said, JOB equals just over broke. We need multiple income streams other than just our job that doesn't necessarily require us to exchange dollars for hours. How can you make money in your sleep? Exactly. How can you make money in your sleep? What can you do? What can you teach? Right? My friend, my really, really, really good friend, she was just over my house the other day and she was having the same conversation that you were just having over here on Instagram. And I was telling her, I was like, you are so good at teaching other people how to make money online. She's like, I know I'm really good at teaching other people, but I'm not good at doing it myself. And I said, so do that. Like, if you're good at teaching other people, but you're not good at executing it yourself, then teach other people to do it and then don't execute it yourself. Like, tell them what to do, right? Like, go create a course, go create a membership, go create something that people will pay you for because everybody wants to make passive income. So teach them how to do it, right? And so now she's in the process of like creating that or whatever, but that's a passive income stream for her that's over and above her job, right? So you got to think through the things that you take for granted that you're really good at, because every single one of you is good at something that you assume that nobody cares about. Like this lady teaching her kid how to how to sleep in 14 days and then decide to teach everybody else. When my son was a baby, I could not get him potty trained for nothing. It wasn't working. I was sitting him on the toilet, all the things. My mom said, send him to me. My mom lives in Ohio. I live in Michigan. I sent him up to Ohio for a weekend. He came back potty trained. I don't know what she did. I have no clue what she did. But all the time I had been trying to potty train him, wasn't working. She potty trained him she worked with him for 3-4 days. He came back 100% potty trained and had no problem since. Unfortunately, my mom is no longer here. But if she were, I would say, hey, Ma, you need to create a course on how to teach people to potty train their kids in 3 days. Because for someone like myself who was struggling with trying to figure out how to teach his little kid how to do this, and you're able to do this in a weekend, that's super valuable. I'm paying whatever you're charging for it. You know what I'm saying? So, Tommy, I know you said you have no clue what you're good at. We're going to talk because, like, we know each other personally, and I know you're good at stuff. So we're going to talk, and we're going to figure out what your stream could be. But we got to find ways to make more money. So that's how we're going to combat inflation. I have something coming out during Black Friday for y'all to kind of mitigate this issue, but we're not going to focus on that today. We're going to focus on the show, and I want to make sure that we get back to these tax advantage accounts so you guys can save money on your taxes, okay? But thank you for the question. I think that was a very valuable question and something that a lot of people are wondering. So thank you for that. Okay. So I already mentioned 401k. So we're going to try to contribute up to the max. Again, if you can't contribute the max, that's fine, right? If you can't contribute the maximum that you need for your employer to match you, that's okay too. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Oh shoot. Give me a second. I had an issue over on Instagram. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I don't know what's happening on Instagram. Okay. Okay. Saki, I know I'm saying your name wrong, sweetie. Saki says you are dropping gems. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. All right. Now, something is better than nothing. If you contribute 0, you will have 0 in the future. Okay. So at minimum, if you can contribute something, it is better than nothing. Think about a bill collector, right? When your account is in collections and they call you and they say, hey, so-and-so, you owe $5,000 on this card and it's overdue. We need you to set up a payment, right? And you say, I can't afford $5,000. And what do they say? Well, how much can you afford? What can you contribute? What can you do? If you're viewing yourself as a bill, you need to ask yourself the same question. How much can I contribute? Maybe I can't max it out. Maybe I can't pay the full $5,000 that's owed in this card. But you know what I can do? I can pay $100 a month. I can pay $50 a month. I can't max out my employer's match, right? But I can contribute 2%. I can contribute 1%. I can contribute something. Over on Instagram, it says my voice is choppy. Is it still choppy on for you guys over there? For the rest of you, or is it just that person? Let me know. I think we're good over here on YouTube. Okay. Next thing is your Roth IRA. Remember, your Roth IRA is tax advantaged. You do not pay taxes on this after you are retired and you pull that money out. Okay. Now, Shonda, you said you were confused about the Roth. What are you confused about exactly? Because you just said you're confused about the Roth, but I don't know what you're confused. What your confusion is. Are you confused about the amount you can contribute? If so, the amount you can contribute is $7,000 maximum per year if you're under the age of 50. Oh, it says it's choppy. Okay, you guys, over on Instagram, they're saying for you guys to leave out and come back in, and it seems to work. So I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening with Instagram. Sorry. Come on over to YouTube, because YouTube ain't no problems over on YouTube. Okay. So Shonda, let me know. All right. So let's get back to for the tithers. So let's see who said they were the tither. We got Karen, Valika, Jackie, Tommy, Penny, Shonda, Chris, Charlene. All right. All said that they were tithers. Are you currently writing your tithes off and getting a tax advantage or getting tax advantages for that? Are you currently writing your tithes off? If you're writing your tithes off, let me know. I feel like most of us are probably not. Some of us are. Okay, great. Some of us are. Some of us are not, right? If you are okay, so a lot of us are. Great. Do you know that you can write your tithes off for next year, even if you haven't paid them yet? Do you know that? Caroline's not. Chris is not. Do you know you can write off next year's tithes, even if you haven't paid them yet? Okay, perfect. Saki said that they went out, came back in. KAG left out, came back in. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you guys are able to get back in. Yes, Penny. That's what I'm saying. You can write them off in advance. Right? Charlene knew. Valika did not know. Penny didn't know either, right? Shonda didn't know, right? So you can do this through something called a DAF. This is called a donor advised fund. Okay? A donor advised fund. So let's say you can, over on Instagram, you can write off your tithes, or not just tithes, any charitable contribution. So if you are someone who donates to the Wildlife Federation, or if you're someone who donates to, kids who are in need or whatever, any sort of charitable contribution, including tithes to your church, okay, you can write these off through some, you can write them off now for the future in something called a DAF. It's DAF. Okay, write that down, DAF. Okay. Donor advised funds. Donor advised funds. Okay. If you are not yet following this channel, what are you doing? Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't followed the channel yet. Okay. And if you have not liked this video, do me a favor and please like it, because it helps the channel. It really helps me. I'm trying to get to, I have 800 more watch hours to get to my goal of 4,000 watch hours in a 3 or 4 month period. And if you like it, it will actually share this with other people so they can watch this video too. Okay. I appreciate all of you. All right. So a donor advised fund, it allows you to make contributions to the fund today, but you don't have to spend that money until later, right? So I'm going to read exactly the definition. Donor advised funds allow us to make charitable contributions now and get an immediate tax deduction while deciding later where to allocate those funds, right? So you can donate to the DAF today and write it off in your 2024 taxes, but you don't have to give that money out till next year or in the future. So if those of you who are tithers, if you are someone who knows, let's say you contribute $200 a month. I don't know how much y'all contribute. Let's say you contribute $200 a month to your church, right? Some of y'all do more, some of y'all do less, right? $200 and you multiply that times 12. So in a year, you're going to contribute $2,400 to your church. You can put that into a DAF account right now so that you can get the benefit in 2024 taxes, but you don't have to give that money to you. You will basically pay your church from the DAF in 2025, right? So you can write that off in current year taxes, even though you're not using it till next year. And you may be somebody who says, well, I don't want to contribute a lump sum to my church or to my charitable organization. That's totally fine. Let's say you've got $2,400 in this account. You put it into the DAF account. You write it off in 2024. It lowers your tax bracket, lowers the amount of money that you have to pay in taxes, right? Or that you're liable for. And then let's say in January, you give them $200. In February, you give them another $200. In March, you give them another $200. You pay them monthly or whatever, but you're paying it from the DAF as opposed to paying it from your pocket. And therefore, you're able to benefit from the tax advantage that you can't take advantage of if you're paying it from your pocket in that tax year. Does that make sense? Let me know if anybody's confused on that, because DAFs is one of like the things I feel like they don't talk about very much, except in like wealth circles. And it's something that can really, really, really benefit you when it comes to taxes. All right. So I want to go back to Shonda. She says she's confused about if you can contribute past retirement when it comes to the Roth. So when it comes to the Roth, Shonda, you can contribute past retirement. This is actually a question I believe Dr. Diane asked in My Rich Friends just a couple days ago. So it's apparently a good question. Yes, you can contribute past retirement as long as you have earned income. As long as you have earned income, you can contribute to your Roth past retirement. And here's the thing, you actually don't ever have to pull out your Roth money if you don't want to. If you are able to retire without it, you can actually pass that money on to your heirs, your children, your grandchildren, whatever, if you want to. So you don't ever have to pull it out, but you can definitely contribute past retirement age, right? Because there's retirement age as determined by the government, which is 59 and a half. And obviously some people retire earlier than that. And then some people retire later than that. And some people never retire, right? So as long as you have earned income, you can continue to contribute to your Roth. Okay. So for a DAF account, you can actually open up a DAF account with Fidelity. So those of you who have taken the challenge, the Fix My Money challenge, right? Which I'm going to drop the link in the comments for the wait list right now. Okay. All of you who took the Fix My Money challenge have a Fidelity account, right? All 200 plus of y'all who took that challenge have a Fidelity account. You can go to Fidelity and you can actually open up a DAF account. Also, you can open up one with Charles Schwab, and it is called Schwab. I think it's called Schwab Charitable. That's actually what it's called, Schwab Charitable. Okay. All right, I dropped the link in the comments for the Fix My Money challenge wait list. The waitlisters always get first dibs on the challenge. This challenge will help you get to it. It will help you set yourself up to create a money map to get to 7 figures and beyond, right? So we start with debt payoff from day 1, and we go all the way up through 5 days, and we go up into debt payoff, create an emergency fund, all these things, and we do it in real time together up to retirement and creating a 7-figure net worth, no matter what your income is. So if you are someone who wants that for your life, the Fix My Money Challenge is the way to go. Okay. And again, it's free to join the waitlist. Chris says, can you take below the line deductions with a DEF and also use your standard deductions? Chris, I think you might have a word missing or added. I don't understand your question. Can you take below the line deductions with a DEF? I don't know what you mean. Can you restate your question for me so I can answer it intelligently for you? Naja says, my insurance for me and my son who's 18 is exactly what you described. Please point me to better insurance options, please. So Naja, the place that I went to look for other insurance options was called Xander. It's called Xander Insurance. I'll put it in the comments. It's Zander. They are not a broker. They are not a healthcare company themselves. They are a broker. Okay. They're a broker. So I like them because kind of similar to the healthcare marketplace, they'll basically aggregate a bunch of different companies and things like that, and you can see what's best for you. So that's where I found it, right? The marketplace was giving me extremely high prices, but Xander found me, like I said, the same thing for a lot cheaper. Oh, great question. Over on Instagram, KAG says, can you have both a 401k and a Roth IRA? Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I'm going to do the math to show you how it works for you. But yes, you can. You can have both. And I advise that you do. You actually should. Okay? You should. Okay, Naja's in Ohio, same company and everything. Yeah, I gotta have I have to have Blue Cross. I love Blue Cross, Blue Shield for my health insurance. I need and the thing is on the healthcare marketplace, when it comes to health insurance, a lot of times the cheaper ones will be like the local companies. But the problem for me with that is I travel a lot, and some of the local companies, like, you're out of network if you go to a non-local doctor or hospital. And considering I travel so much, like, I can't be privy to that. I got to have a national company that's going to let me go to any doctor in any state or any country without restriction. And so I have to have something like that. So Blue Cross Blue Shield works great for me. And so I wanted to make sure I kept that, but I didn't want to keep paying $800 a month. So paying $241 is a lot better for me. And considering that it's open enrollment right now, as of the time I'm making this video, I advise all of you to look around and see if you can find cheaper health insurance. Definitely find cheaper health insurance if you can, right? But don't reduce the quality of what you got. Just see if you can find it cheaper. All right, let's keep going because we're running out of time. Okay, so the next thing is a health savings account. If you are relatively healthy, I highly advise that you get a high deductible healthcare plan. If you are not going to the doctor that often, it doesn't make sense to pay a super low deductible and pay a whole lot of money per month for your health insurance. It just doesn't, right? So if you have what they consider a high deductible plan, you can then qualify possibly for an HSA, which is a health savings account. This allows you to save money into the account that comes from your paycheck. We put that money into the health savings account, but most people are using this just for medical expenses. What most people don't realize, this is also a tax write-off. Okay. This is also a tax write-off, and you can contribute by yourself. If you're an individual, unmarried, right? You can contribute $4,300 a year in 2025, but you can contribute $8,550 a year if you are a family. So if you have one other person in your household, like I do, right? I have me and my son. If you may have you and your spouse, you and a kid or two, right? If you have more than one person in your household, you qualify for the family plan, and you can contribute $8,550 a year to that account. Okay. A lot of people are just using this account for health benefits for healthcare expenses. So if you go to the doctor, you get a bill, you pay it from your HSA, and that way you don't have to pay it out of your own, pocket from your checking account. But what most people are not doing is investing this money. So just like your 401k, just like your Roth IRA, and your health savings account also can be invested, right? So Dave Ramsey is a great example of this. He has a health savings account. Keep in mind, you can only contribute up to $85.50 if you have a family, but his health savings account has millions of dollars in it because he's investing it, right? And the benefit of this is that it's triple advantage. So the first thing is that it's tax deductible. Second thing is that it grows tax free. And the third thing is that withdrawals for medical expenses are also tax free. So do not pay if you have an HSA or a high deductible plan. Get an HSA. You can get this on your own, or your employer might offer it. If your employer doesn't offer it, you can absolutely get it on your own. Okay. Put that money into there, and then put some of that money into the stock market so you can grow your money. Okay. Now, I'm always going to advise that you work with a tax professional for all of this, because I am not a tax professional, right? I just know some of the game, and I'm telling it to y'all. But I definitely advise that you get with a tax planner, okay? Because I think Chris said, can you take your DAF deduction and also the standard deduction to reduce your AGI? I don't know, Chris. I'm not a tax professional. But that's something you would definitely ask your tax professional. He said, I think not. I don't know. She said, I would think not. I don't know. I mean, honestly, a lot of these tax loopholes you would think wouldn't be like legal or even that they would be frowned upon, but they're absolutely part of the tax code. And here's what I want you all to remember. I said this before, I'll say this again. The tax code, a lot of us feel like the tax code is written against us. It's actually not. It's just written in favor of investors and in favor of investors and basically investors and real estate professionals, real estate investors, right? So and people who own companies. And here's the reason, right? The government will provide benefits and tax advantages to people and companies who do their job for them, right? So think about this. If you are a company, right? If you're a business and you're providing jobs for people, you get several tax advantages, right? So as an employer, my company and I benefit from having employees because the government now does not have to provide WIC and welfare and other government subsidies to these people because I'm providing jobs for them, right? I'm doing their job for them, basically. I also get a benefit as an employer for providing a 401k because we match, right? And if we match, we get a tax deduction for that match. But as an individual, you could be benefiting from that tax deduction as well. I'm going to show you all the math in a minute, right? So as an employer, I get the benefit of doing the government's job because I'm providing a job, so the government doesn't have to support the people who I provide the jobs for. That's less people that they have to support because I'm supporting them, basically, right? If you are a real estate investor, if you are or an investor, period, right? But specifically a real estate investor, you are providing housing for people. So you get tax advantages for that. That means that the government does not have to contribute Section 8 or any other sort of housing subsidies to those individuals. So you get a benefit, right? So we have to think about it in terms of being investors for ourselves so that we can take advantage of these tax advantages, right? So all the things that I mentioned, you can write off. FSA and HSAs are not the same, Shonda. And I'm going to tell you the difference right now because I've had to research this for my sister. So FSAs, there's something about FSAs. Let me look up FSAs for you because I don't want to get you wrong. Because again, y'all, I'm not a tax professional, so I'm not trying to tell nobody nothing wrong. Okay, FSAs, I don't believe have the same benefits. Let's see here. Okay, so an FSA, the contribution is $3,200 for contribution max is $3,200 for this year. It's obviously, like I said, 85.50 for 2025 for families for HSA. So it's less, right? You cannot invest in FSA. That money cannot be put into the stock market. So with the HSA, it can. And there's other benefits as well, right? But HSA is really the way to go. Amechi says, for the HSA, can you use the funds for things other than health reasons? Not without being penalized. Not without being penalized if you're under a certain age, right? So if I use my HSA right now and I'm underage, retirement age, and I use that money to buy some shoes, they give me a card, basically almost like a debit card. It'll go through, but then I'll be penalized for it. And I forgot how much the penalty is, like 10% or something. It's pretty high. So you don't want to use it for anything other than that. Great, Janelle. Janelle also says FSAs you can't roll. That's the main thing. That's right. FSAs you can't roll the money over, and HSAs you can. So HSAs are definitely way more beneficial. You can also invest them as well. Like I said, you can invest the FSA. So whatever money is in there at the end of the year, Shonda, for your FSA, if you don't use it, you lose it. Whereas HSAs, if you contribute $5,000 and you only spend $2,500, at the end of that year, your other $2,500 is gone. You just lost it in the FSA. In an HSA, that money just continues to build up and just stays in the account until you use it or invest it. So yeah, you don't. I would not get an FSA if I could avoid it. Okay. So I'm going to advise that you guys work with a tax professional. Find yourself a tax professional. But let's talk about the math on this real quick. Okay. Let me get my handy dandy screen out here, or not screen, but whiteboard. All right. So let's do some math on how this can work for you. All right. So let's say you or the person in this example makes $70,000 a year. Okay. They make $70,000. Let me get a different color. Oh, shoot. I picked up the wrong type of marker. Okay. So you make, or this person, not dark enough, make $70,000. Okay. And so with that $70,000 example, let's say you max this out. I'm going to use the maximum numbers. I realize a lot of us are not going to be able to max things out. Okay. What's up, Larry? Hey, over on Instagram. I realize a lot of us are not going to be able to max it out, but I'm going to use the max number so you can just kind of see how this will work. Okay. So let's say you make $70,000 a year and somehow, so that puts you in the 22% tax bracket automatically. Okay. So let's use a different color. If you're 70% per government rules, you are automatically in 22% tax bracket. All right. So let's say you were able to do this math. So 70K times 22% equals, let's use a different color so you guys can see this easily. All right, that equals $54,600. Okay. All right. So if you make $70,000, you're in the 22% tax bracket. Okay. So 70,000 times 22% is $54,600. That's how much you're actually going to bring home. Okay. So this is your gross, this is your net. All right. Now, the way that the government does taxes is a little bit more involved in this, but to keep things simple and keep it from being confusing, I'm just going to do like basic numbers here. Okay. Because otherwise it'll get a little confusing for all of you and I don't want it to be confusing. These are average numbers or approximate numbers. Okay. So you would bring home approximately $54,600. All right. Because your taxes, I'm sorry, the math is right, but I'm sorry. You actually are taxed $15,400, which means that you're bringing home $54,600. For those of you who are actually doing the math with me. Okay, this should be a little bit more clear. Okay, so 70,000 times 22% is $15,400, meaning 15,400 minus 70,000 is $54,600. That's how much you bring home. Okay, now let's say that's how much you would be taxed. But let's say instead you were able to contribute some money to these tax advantage accounts. Okay, so let's use a different color and say you were able to max out your 401k. Again, I realize that this is not something that everyone's going to be able to do, but I'm using the maximum numbers to give you an example. Okay, so the maximum is $23,500 for a 401k. $8,550 for a Roth. Okay. And let's say you put $3,000 in your DAF. I'm not even using the HSA numbers right now. Okay. All right. So 23,500, 85,500, and 3,000. Okay. That's the maximum that you can put into those first two. And I just made up $3,000 for your DAF. Remember, your DAF is where you're going to put your charitable contributions. Okay. All right. If you add all that up, that gives you $34,500. Okay. $34,500. Now you're going to subtract that number from your income. This is all money that you saved. This is still your money. Remember, you didn't pay this to a company. You didn't pay this to anybody else except the DAF, right? These first two, this is still your money, right? Imagining yourself as a bill, you paid yourself, right? So Shonda Inc., Janelle Inc., Jane Inc., Laura Inc., Penny Inc., Tommy Inc., right? You paid this money, okay? So it's still your money. It's just not in your checking account. It's in a different account, okay? So now you go from having a $70,000 gross income. All right. So we still starting at $70,000. And now we are subtracting $34,500 from that. This is all money that will not be taxed because it is in tax advantage accounts. That leaves you with $35,500. So this is how much you're taxed on instead of $70K. Right? So now, not only is your income considered less, but you're also in a lower tax bracket. So if your taxable income is $35,500, now your tax bracket is 12% instead of 22%. 10% less because you contributed money to yourself. Y'all following me? Okay. So now it's 12%. And if you do the math on that, so now the 35,500 times, let me see, $35,500 times 12%. I did that wrong. 35,500 times 12% equals, sorry, my calculator is not giving me the number I need. 3,500 times 12%. That's 4,260. All right. So 4,260 is how much you pay in taxes. Keep in mind, earlier you paid $15,400 before you contributed this money. So this is now your taxable. This is how much you owe in taxes. So instead of bringing home $54,000, now when you subtract 70,000 minus 4,260, now you're bringing home $65,740. This is how much you bring home now. Before, you were bringing home $54,000. So you literally gained $11,140 that you didn't have to pay $11,000 is in your pocket versus paying the government. Does that make sense? So that's if you max it out. Now, of course, if you don't max it out, you can still take these deductions, but you have to put your money into certain accounts, right? So how do we find this money? If we are, again, like I mentioned earlier to the question that was asked, if we are taking our money and we are finding ways to make more money, bringing more money in, but also reducing our expenses, now we've got more money to be able to contribute to these tax advantage accounts. Does this make sense to everybody? I feel like it might be a little bit confusing. If it is confusing, please let me know, because I don't want anybody to be confused here. Jane Spitfire says, is it better to have a part-time business so you lower your taxes? Yes, but for more than just why I think that you're thinking. So yes, it's great to have a part-time business because you will benefit from certain tax advantages, but you really only benefit from the major tax advantages if you have an employee or have employees, right? But you can also lower your taxes because just as a business owner, you can benefit from other things. Like you can write off part of your house if you're using some of your house for your company, right? If you're shipping out of your house, if you're selling a product or something, then you can use that as well. There's all sorts of write-offs that you can get as a part-time business owner. But beyond that, it will also help to increase your income so you have more money to be able to contribute to your tax advantage accounts. Does that make sense? Is anybody lost? If you're not lost, just say no. If you're not lost. If you are lost, say yes. Nobody's saying anything, so I'm guessing y'all are good. If y'all are good, I want to make sure you're good. Okay, it's me. It's just a little confused. Okay, let me know. Please tell me what you're confused about. Here's the thing. Michelle's not confused. Okay, here's the thing. It's real simple. Whatever money you can put into these accounts that I mentioned is completely tax write-offable. You can write that off, right? So that's really all you need to remember, okay? Whatever money you can put into a Roth IRA, a 401k, a HSA, or a DAF, right? All that money can be written off. So Lisa, and it's me 109100, okay? Those of you who said you were a little bit confused, cool, right? I just want you to remember this. If you contributed anything in 2024 to any of those accounts, you can write it off when you do your taxes. Okay, Caroline as well. Right? That's the basics of it. Whatever you contribute to these accounts, you can write it off. These accounts are set up specifically for investors. Remember, I said that the government's tax code benefits investors and real estate people, those who invest in real estate, right? And employers. So companies. So by contributing to these accounts, you are considered an investor, even though you're investing in yourself, basically, right? So whatever money you put into there, you're contributing to an investment account, and therefore you can write it off. She says, I'm within 6 months of retirement and have an IRA and a 401k. Am I helping myself? Should I increase contributions in the next 6 months? You should put as much money into the accounts as you can, like period, right? So if you can increase contributions, you should increase contributions. Yes. Also, if you're planning to, I don't know if you're planning to pull that money out as soon as you retire. If you're not, and you still have earned income in some other way, even if it's from, let's say, your own side business, you can still continue to contribute, like I told Shonda earlier. So yes, you are helping yourself by having both an IRA and a 401k, for sure. For sure. Keep doing that. I mean, you're only 6 months away anyway. So congratulations on being about to retire, right? But yes, you can continue to contribute to those. And I don't know how old you are, because retirement can be different ages for different people. But if you are over the age of 50, you can do what's called catch-up contributions. So if you have a 401k and you've already maxed it out, you can contribute even more. If you have a Roth IRA, you can contribute even more. Okay. All right. So bottom line is you can write off these things and therefore you don't have to pay taxes on it. It therefore lowers your income bracket, helping you get to the higher tax benefits of Trump's plan faster. Okay. All right. Now, real quick, because we are out of time, one thing I want to tell you guys, if you have any other questions, please ask. Okay. And remember, I'm not a tax professional. Okay. I just know how the tax code works. I am not giving you tax advice. I'm giving you something to think about that you can take to your tax professional. Okay. Please reach out to your tax professional because a lot of us are constantly losing money. A lot of people who are like middle class and like lower class and like lower upper class are losing money every single year because you don't realize how many things that you can write off for your taxes. For example, the DAF account, right? Most of us don't know about a DAF account. Most of us are just, hopefully writing off our tithes or our contributions or whatever, but not necessarily. But if it's in a DAF account, it automatically gets written off, assuming you work with a tax professional. So you don't just want somebody who is going to do your taxes for you. You want to find someone who's a tax planner, which is different than a tax preparer. Okay. A tax preparer, I can be a tax preparer, right? Like basically plug some numbers in, what have you. I'm no shade to those people who do that. It's great, right? Like we need tax preparers, but there are tax planners who they specialize in finding ways to, save you money on taxes. So you keep more money in your pocket. Okay. Good. She said she's going to look into the DAF account. She says at my age, they will make allotments at 72 regardless. I plan to do CDs. I will be taxed when funds are withdrawn from the 401k and the IRA. Yeah. So yes. So 401ks and IRAs are tax deferred. They're not tax advantaged like Roths, right? Roths, you don't pay taxes once you pull it out. 401ks and IRAs, you do pay taxes on it, but you don't pay taxes until you pull it out. So that's the difference. Penny says, amen to a tax planner. I lost a lot of money in fees last year. What kind of fees, Penny, did you lose your money in? Did you lose it to somebody who wasn't a tax planner, they were a tax preparer, or you lost money in fees from paying too much taxes? Like, what do you mean? Let me know what you mean. But yes, please get yourself a tax planner and understand, like I said, that is a totally different thing than a tax professional. I mean, than a tax preparer. Tax preparers are not usually tax planners. Those are two different people. Okay. You will pay for a tax planner, but you will pay less than you would pay in taxes. Right. So again, remember, like I said earlier, we have been conditioned to spend money on things that's going to lose us money and reject spending money on things that's going to make us money. So someone will say, well, why would I pay a tax preparer or tax planner to tell me how not to pay money in taxes when I still got to pay them? But you're going to pay more in taxes than you would pay that person. So the math makes sense to pay the tax planner so they save you significantly more in taxes, right? Okay. Penny says that the person she lost her money to was a tax preparer and the software she used fees were more than her fees. So wait, so she charged you her software fees? That's the cost of doing business. She should have charged that to the game or raised her fees. Now, how are you going to charge the client for something you need in order to do your job? That sounds like bad business. Unless I'm missing something. Which brings me to another point, which has nothing to do with this. I really hate when I go to a store or like a nail shop or something, and they say it's an extra fee for credit card. I'm like, that's the cost of doing business. Like, just raise your fee. Don't tell me I got to pay you an extra $4 for a credit card because I'm not carrying around cash. Like, I feel like that's a cost of doing business. If you're in business, that's just a cost of it. I don't charge people on my website like an extra 5% because I got it with 3.5% because I got to pay 3.5% in credit card fees. Like, what? It's the cost of doing business. She said she didn't know that the fees were that high and it was bad business. Well, that was her fault. I would have pushed back on that if I were you, Penny. There's no way you should have paid for her software fees. There's no way you should have paid for her software fees. No, Kofi, it's not a tip. The tip is over and above the credit card fee that they charge. So I'd be like, if I gotta pay this credit card fee, I don't feel like I should tip you because like you're charging me your bill. Yes, I know. I know. They're saying that's what the credit card, that's what the bank is charging them. And that is probably what the bank is charging them. But that's what the bank is charging you, not me. I'm the consumer. You chose to go into a business and you knew that there were credit card fees associated with that. You need to adjust your prices accordingly or just take cash, which you probably won't make a whole lot if you're only taking cash. But that's your cost, not mine. I'd rather you just raise your prices and don't even tell me that you're charging me the credit card fee. Because now, like, I'm not paying that and I got to tip you too. Like, that's ridiculous. All right. Lisa is newly retired at 65. Congratulations. 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 So Amechi says, can you explain what we can write off as real estate investors? Okay. So again, y'all, I'm just here to give you something to think about. I'm not a tax planner. Okay. But I will give you some very high level overview of what you can write off as a real estate investor. Okay. And I have some of this stuff written down because I don't want to forget it. Okay. So when it comes to real estate, investing in real estate this is all stuff I had written down in my notes. Investing in real estate can generate income and offer tax advantages like deductions for depreciation, mortgage interest, and property expenses. All right. And then you can also leverage what's called a 1031 exchange. For real estate investors, this tool allows for deferral of capital gains taxes on the sale of a property, provided that the funds are reinvested in a similar property. So basically, you get your money, you invest in real estate, you sell a property, right? You then get the profits from that. You would typically have to pay capital gains taxes on that. Now, a huge tax loophole is that instead of paying capital gains taxes on that, you can then take those profits and buy another property. And then you don't pay taxes. Right? So that's how a lot of people who are real estate investors, like they do really, really well or can do really, really well because they never have to pay those capital gains taxes if they're constantly taking that money and putting it into a new property. So if they're always buying new properties, their taxes are extremely minimal because they benefit from the 1031 exchange. So those are just a few things that real estate investing can provide for you. Yeah, Jackie says that's the cost of doing business. I agree. I'm not paying that. All right. So as we are out of time, okay, I want to give you all something really, really quickly. Just something to think about, especially if you're over 40. Okay. Now, if you're over the age of 40, like I said earlier, thinking about retirement should be like one of your top priorities because it's going to come really, 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 really fast. Okay. You're so welcome, Laura. Everything is coming at you super fast when you are 40 plus. Like if you're 40 plus, like you realize how quickly those last 20 years flew by. Like if you're 20, you thinking like, oh, I got all the time in the world. If you're 30, you're like, oh, I got a little bit of time. You 40, you like shit. Like life is coming at me super fast. And I need to get my life together. Right. So you may be wondering, okay, what am I going to do? Now I realize some of us are 40, some of us are 45, some of us are 60, some of us are 65, right? Some of us are older. So we still need time for the stock market to be able to do what it does. But you can still come out a millionaire with a little bit of patience, some consistency, and some diligence. Okay. In order for this to work, you're going to have to do what I mentioned earlier. Okay. You're going to have to reduce your expenses. You're going to have to look through your accounts and you're going to have to say, okay, why am I paying so much in health insurance, in life insurance, in my car note? Can I renegotiate some things over here and get a lower rate on some of these things, right? Because you're going to need to have more money available, again, to pay yourself. I need you to view investing in your 401k, your HSA, your Roth IRA, your stock market account, your brokerage account, I need you to view that as you paying yourself. Because if you view it as you paying yourself and you consider yourself a bill and you pay yourself first every time, no matter how much you're paying, whether you're paying yourself $10 or you're paying yourself $1,000, right? You should be paying yourself something a month. And I'm going to challenge you to literally make yourself a bill. Determine how much you can pay yourself. It may not be a ton, but it's something. Just like the credit card companies, when you are in collections, you may not be able to pay that whole bill, but they will say, well, what can you afford? What can you afford to pay on this? Because we'd rather take something than nothing, because they know if you give them nothing, they're going to end up with nothing. But if you give them something, at least they can start to write off some of that amount that you owe them. They would rather get a little than nothing. Okay. So a lot of times we feel like if we can't do it all, we can't do a lot, then we should do nothing. Like, no, that's not the move at all. Okay. So the challenge here, and I'm going to post this in the Get Money Crew on Facebook for those of you who are in the group. Okay. The challenge is to determine how much your bill for yourself is going to be. Maybe it's $5. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's 30. Maybe it's 100. Maybe it's 200. I don't really know. You make that, you determine that, but decide how much that bill is going to be. Okay. Now, once you can reduce your expenses, now keep in mind, I just told you all earlier how I was able to reduce two big bills of mine, which is my life insurance and my health insurance, collectively saving me about $9,000 a month or $700, $9,000 a year or $700 some dollars a month, right? If you can take that money that you are able to save, and if you are able to make more money through passive income streams, like Dr. Nicole mentioned earlier, right? We've got to have more than one kind of income stream if we're going to be able to really survive and thrive out here, right? Because the cost of living is going up. You can take that money and you can put it into the stock market. And if you invested in a high growth ETF, and I always suggest VOO, y'all know that's my favorite one because it's the S&P 500 stock, S&P 500 ETF. That means that every single company in that ETF is one of the 500 largest companies in America, which means you pretty much can't go wrong. Okay. You're going to take that and you're going to put that money into the stock market, investing in that ETF. And if you are over 40, okay, if you give yourself 20 to 25 years, now I know that sounds like a long time, but trust me, it's not, because I promise you I'm 42 right now. And I swear I was just 26 like the other day. Somehow I got to be 42. I don't really know how it happened, right? We know that time flies, okay? So if you are 50, 25 years, you'll be 75, right? If you're 40, in 25 years, you'll be 65, right? So if you can just give yourself 20 to 25 years of consistency, you can still retire a millionaire, but you have to do this, okay? You have to do this. You have to do this. Okay, this is over and above everything else that we talked about. I just want to give y'all this little bit of game, because I think I keep seeing people saying like, oh my gosh, I'm 45 and I'm realizing retirement is really, really soon. And I don't really know what I'm going to do. I have nothing saved. Here's what you're going to do. Okay. So I'm going to open up this calculator. I love it. It's called the Nerd Wallet Compound Interest Calculator. You can simply go to Google, type in Nerd Wallet Compound Interest Calculator. Okay. Yes, look, Yolanda, I will post the link to Xander in just a minute for you. I'll post that. Penny says, this conversation has been fire. I'm so glad this was beneficial for you, darling. I'm so glad. And Laura, you are so welcome as well. She said, thanks. Great to know, Gwen. Thanks. You are so welcome. You're so welcome. Kofi, you are welcome as well. You are so welcome as well. Okay. And Amechi, I'm going to answer your question in just a minute. Let me just get past this point. Okay. If you can take, hold on, let me actually share my screen with y'all. Hold on. Let's share my screen because I really want y'all to see this. Share screen. Okay. All right, so I've shared this calculator on here before, okay? It's a Nerd Wallet calculator, okay? If you can take, let's say $2,000, and you contribute $100 a month, I'm sorry, $100, we're going to contribute $100 weekly. Now, that's $400 a month. Now, that may sound like a lot, but remember, I already told you how I saved $700 just by making a couple phone calls. And that's just two expenses. I'm confident that if you make some phone calls and you look at your bills and you consider how much you're spending in certain things that you can probably spend less in, you can more than likely find at least this amount, if not half of this amount. Okay? If you can find yourself $100 a week, that's $400 a month. Now, if you're over 40, you're going to have to contribute a little bit more than someone who's 20 because you don't have time working on your side like you would if you were 20. Okay. So you got to contribute more. But if we can just get $100 a week, if we can figure out how to make that happen. Okay. Gosh, something's in my eye. And then you do that for 25 years. And the rate of return on this particular ETF that I've mentioned is 14.7 on average, compounded annually. You will end up, I'm sorry, I said if you contribute $200 in initial account. If you contribute $2,000, you have a little bit more. But you can start with just $200, okay? If you can contribute consistently and diligently every single month, you will have $1 million in 25 years. So Ametia says, as a 41-year-old woman, this is just what I need. Yes, this is the plan, okay? You can become a millionaire. It's going to take some time. But if you can just contribute $400 a week, $400 a month, that's $100 a week. If you say $400 a month, it sounds like a lot of money. But if you break it down and say, well, it's really only $100 a week, I can guarantee you that I spend more than $100 a week. Not every single week, but on many weeks on nonsense. For a lot of us, that's a dinner out with a friend. For others of us, it's other stuff that we don't need to be buying, right? If you can just sacrifice or make more money, right? Let me change this over here so you can see me. Or make more money, like I mentioned, through something that you are good at. Like I mentioned, this woman who has this course on teaching babies how to sleep that you probably don't think that you are that talented at, but everybody would pay you for it, right? We can make passive income. We can find an extra $100 a week. That is the charge. Okay. So for those of us who are 40 plus, this is what has to be done if you want to have $1 million. I know it feels like if you're 40 plus, it's like, oh my gosh, there's no way. There's no way I can have $1 million. But I am showing you the math on how you can. And you can start with just $200. You can actually start, you might even be able to start with $100. Let's do the math and see. You can start with $100. You could actually start with nothing, right? And just start with the $400 a month contributions. Kofi says, or you could work overtime. You could work overtime, but I prefer to find ways to, and that's a very feasible and viable option, Kofi, for sure, to work overtime to make more money, right? But I prefer to find ways that I can make money where I'm not trading dollars for time or time for dollars, right? Like if I can make money passively, that means I can still have like the same quality of life that I have and not have to like work hella hard or work more hours for somebody else, right? But yes, working overtime is definitely an option as well, okay? So for those of you who are over 40, is this something that you think that you can, is reasonable for you? Is this reasonable for you if you're 40 plus? Amechi says that it is. He said, this is just what I needed. Aw. Naja says, this is answered prayer, Miss. This is an answered prayer, Miss Gwen. I'm over 40 and single and been in the gig economy, so my 403B is skinny. Girl, I love it. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Yeah, so if you're in the gig economy, you're probably doing like DoorDash or Uber or something like that, right? Which is kind of cool because then you're not like beholden to the hours of like a job, right? So kudos to you, right? I don't know if you're familiar with DoDash, by the way, Naja. There's a woman on YouTube called DoDash, DOUGH, DoDash, and she used to do DoorDash full time, and now she just does YouTube. I think she just stopped doing DoorDash recently, but she would chronicle her DoorDash experiences where she would just literally go to people's houses and drop off their food, and she would just talk about it on YouTube. And she amassed a bunch of followers, and now she doesn't have to do that because YouTube is paying her. Right. So yeah, DoorDash. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Although I'd be like, she's been posting just a lot of stuff. And I'm like, girl, you coming up on my feed like every 2 hours. But kudos to her. I'm super proud of her. But yes, I'm so glad this is the answer prayer for you, right? So all of you guys are saying yes. Laura says yes. Kofi says yes. Yolanda says yes. Penny says yes. Naja says yes, right? This is feasible. This is not out of reach. And here's its ticker symbol. I'm gonna tell you guys again. It's VOO. I talk about this particular ETF all the time because it has high returns. It's had high returns the whole time. It doesn't seem to be stopping, and it's an S&P 500 ETF. So an ETF is a basket of stocks where you basically invest one time, and you essentially own a bunch of stocks at once. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Just so for those of you who are not familiar with me talking about this, I'm going to show you this particular company or ETF. And I know we got to go because it's like well past the time that we're supposed to be on here. Okay, so this is Vanguard. VOO is a Vanguard ETF. Vanguard is just a company that has a bunch of these. Okay, so now Vanguard eats this particular ETF. Let me scroll down so I can show y'all. Okay, so VOO, since its inception in 2010, it has gotten on average 14.53% returns. The average return of the stock market is between 8 and 10%. So this is outpacing the average stock market. And the reason that is outpacing is because it's an S&P 500 ETF. The S&P 500 is a index of essentially the 500 largest companies in America. So you're going to find the biggest companies on there. And every year, this S&P 500 gets recalibrated. So if a company is no longer one of the top 500, it gets kicked out of the S&P 500 and a new one gets brought in, right? So you're always going to have the top 500 companies every single year. So that's why this is always pretty much going to outpace the rest of the stock market, because there's 3,000 and some out stocks on the stock market, but you're getting the top 500, right? I like VTI as well, but VTI does not have as many companies in it, Kofi. Okay, so I'll show VTI in a minute, but the S&P 500 has, roughly about 500, may have a little bit more. So if we scroll down, we can see there's 505 companies in this portfolio. So when you invest in this, you are automatically invested in 505 companies, right? So rather than you trying to say like, oh, should I invest in Nvidia? Should I invest in like Nike? Should I invest in Avgo? Should I invest in, I don't really know what it's going to do. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. You invest one time and you own 500 at one time. So if you invest your money into this, you are instantly diversified, instantly, with one purchase, and you're getting almost a 15% return. So 14.53% return. So if you do what I said and you all open up a brokerage account and you just put $100 a week in there, you will be a millionaire in 25 years. So this is the play, y'all. Okay. I don't know how more plain to make it. Okay. But just because you're over 40 does not mean that you have to retire poor and destitute and broke. Okay. It does not matter if you were in the gig economy like Naja, if you're an entrepreneur like me, if you have an actual W-2 for or job or whatever. Regardless, if you can just swing $100 a week and you do that consistently and view yourself as a bill, right? View yourself as the bill. You pay yourself first. You pay that $100 into that account every single week first before you pay everybody else. You're going to retire a millionaire. Okay. But to Kofi's question, he asked about, or he or she, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman, asked about VTI. So VTI is another stock ETF, but VTI doesn't have as many. It doesn't have as many companies, and it's good too. But I prefer this other one because it just has more. So let's look at VTI real quick, and then we'll go because I don't want to turn this session into a whole totally different topic. But this one has not gotten as high of returns, so it's got 8.8 returns. The stock market on average gets between 8 and 10%. And as I've said before, and I will say again, I'm not here to be average. I wake up every day looking to be extraordinary. So, if the average is 8 to 10, I'm only looking to invest in things that get more than that. So on average, it's gotten that much over the whole time. Now, obviously, in certain years, it's gotten more, but on average, it's gotten 8%, right? And if we scroll down, we can see that VTI has, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. VTI has more stocks. They have the entire stock market. It's the entire stock market index. It's a total stock market index. But you're going to get the returns on all the stock market. So you getting the returns on the S&P 500, which is like the creme de la creme, and you getting the returns on like the ones that suck, right? And I don't want that. I just want the creme de la creme. I want the top of the line always. So that's why I prefer VOO. Essentially, if you invest in VTI, you basically have VOO also, Kofi, but the returns aren't as great. And so I prefer to go with the ones that have the greater returns. So that's it. All right. So that is it for today's show, you guys. I hope I answered all the questions that I saw. I didn't see any more that I missed. Caroline says this is not only reasonable, but it's mandatory. I thank you so much. Never too late. Yes, absolutely never too late. Even if you're in your 60s, y'all, the average life expectancy for women is over 85, right? So if you're 60, you could very well live to be 85, right? Like, and the more recent your decade of life, the greater life expectancy you have. So I was born in the 80s, and for women born in the 80s, our life expectancy is about 90. So, if you're born in the 90s, it might be 92. Who knows, right? So if you're born in the 70s, 60s, or 50s, or 40s, or whatever, obviously it's going to be a little bit less. But the bottom line is that we are living longer. We do not want to outlive our money. That would be a really, really, really bad thing. So if you can invest $100 a week for 25 years, just put it on autopilot. Don't even try to remember to do it. Just connect your savings account or your brokerage account to your checking account and move that money automatically. So that way you don't have to think about it. That way you don't have any friction. There's nobody to stop you. You're not there to stop yourself and say, oh, well, I really could use this new purse, or I really could go on this vacation. Like, no, just move that money over like it's an automatic deal, and you will have $1 million at minimum in 25 years. All right. Thank you guys for coming today. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this session. You are so welcome, Jackie. Thank you for the hand claps, Penny. Caroline says, change our mindsets from can't to can. Pay myself first. Thank you so much, Gwen. Loving the information and the enthusiasm. You are welcome, my love. By the way, if you are not yet a member of My Rich Friends, what are you doing? I'm going to drop I'm going to drop the link in the comments. It's gwenjameer.com/myrichfriends. If you want this type of content and even deeper sorts of content like this, you should join My Rich Friends. All right. Get your money together so that you can have that 7 figures and above. You're welcome, Yolanda. Oh, Yolanda, you asked for the link to Xander. Let me post that link for you. I think it's just Xander.com. Let me post it. Oops. Let me make sure I got the right link. Hold on. Xander.com, or it might be Xander INS. Let's see. Yep. Is XanderINS.com. So I'll post it here for you, Yolanda, or anybody else who is wondering. I think Naja as well. Both of you guys are wondering where to get, or where I got my insurance cheaper. That's where I got it. Thank you all for the love and the hearts and the emojis. Like, oh, y'all giving me all the love. I'm just loving it today. I appreciate you all so much. Make sure that you join My Rich Friends. And if you are not If you have not yet taken the Fix My Money Challenge, I am begging you to join, not for me, but for you. Like the results that come out of that challenge, the money that people is able to save, we have one person who is now in My Rich Friends who took the Fix My Money Challenge. She has had a pile of debt for 23 years. And she said this when we took the challenge. She said, I've had this debt for 23 years. And after I took this challenge and I did all the things that you told me to do, Gwen, I realized that if I just follow the map that I created for myself, this is her talking, the map she created for herself, she would be out of that debt in 18 months. So to go from having this debt on your back for 23 years, feeling hopeless and just like, this is going to be a bill I live with for the rest of my life, to realizing, let me just buckle down here. I can do these sorts of things and follow the money map that I created for myself. I can be out of it in 18 months. That's life-changing. Life-changing. For 23 years to 18 months to be debt-free, it's nothing like it, right? So I beg of you for yourself, if you thought this was valuable, you've got to join the Fix My Money Challenge, because your life will be forever changed when you create your money map that we'll do together. And you'll be on a whole trajectory that you don't even think that you have access to. All right. So that's the wait list. The wait list is completely free to join, but the wait list gets first access to it. And I'm going to tell you that the Fix My Money Challenge price is going up, but it's going to be a certain little something for people who buy it during Black Friday weekend. So just keep that in mind, but get on the wait list because you'll have first dibs, because when it sells out, and I can't let anybody else in. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll catch you in My Rich Friends and in the Get Money crew. And I thank you for being here with me today. And hopefully you guys take the charge, consider yourself a bill, and you start putting money into a brokerage account so you can save to get to $1 million. All right. Talk to you later. Have a wonderful day, y'all. Bye.